All right. Welcome back to the Crave Show. I'm JRuss. We got Chris. And this week we have Erika Lopez is joining us.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Hola. I'm great. How are you guys?
Very good. It's nice to have you with us, Erika.
Thanks. I'm excited.
I have to pre-warn everyone that Steph isn't home right now, which means I'm in charge of the girls, and they are abusing me. Just so you know, Mia is the little growly pants in the background, and the bird is being the bird. But, Chris, did you know there's a woman on Instagram who adopted a sparrow?
No.
And she's like Instagram famous.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, how many followers did you see? Did you go look at her?
I didn't see. Steph showed me her channel a little bit, but she's also got pretty big boobs and she doesn't wear a lot of clothing.
Oh, that's why she's got followers.
that
Dude, just get two big giant balloons and put them under your shirt. You're good.
Yeah, I don't know if that would do it, but
no, probably not.
you know. All right, sorry about that, Erika. Tell us about yourself, Erika. Who are you?
Oh, who am I? I am Erika Lopez. I live in Eloy, Arizona, right down the street from Skydiving, Arizona. Been packing parachutes. I've been skydiving since 2006, packing parachutes since 2008. Started massaging in 2012 after an accident and had to go back to school, and then slowly started my healing process of working into integration, and I've been packing parachutes since, and yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Do you keep track of how many parachutes you pack? Like, do you have any idea, like any way of knowing how many you've packed?
No. I couldn't even guess. We've played this game before.
Oh, you have?
I think we've maxed at a minimum of like 20,000 or something.
Gosh.
And that was a guesstimate. Like, you go pack at a boogie, each boogie I'm packing anywhere from, back then when I was packing full time, 300 to 500 in a weekend. But you know, that was over a decade ago when I was a lot younger.
You could pack 500 in a weekend?
Easily, yeah. When you're packing at these skydiving events, for sure. You're hustling, you're working your butt off, and you hurt. And it definitely takes a toll on you, but it's nice when you have a bunch of money and you can go play.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah, they pack a lot. I mean, you don't realize it until you're a packer, but the boogie starts and a bazillion people, hey, do you have any openings? Hey, do you have any openings? Like, nobody wants to pack. I don't want to pack either.
Well, at Summerfest, I went down to my car one night. I don't even know what I went down there for, but it was almost midnight when I went down there. And, you know, they had in the grass, they had that packing, the packers had that tent set up. They were still packing, and it was almost midnight, and they were still going strong, and they were laughing, having fun. Like, it's not like they're out there complaining and having a bad attitude. They're having a good time, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Making money.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Make hay while the sun shines, or after the sun's down, I guess.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Erika, what was your accident? Is that something that we can ask about?
Oh, sure. In 2011, I went to Hawaii to do videos for tandems, and it was windy, and I still went to jump and had a canopy collapse at about 100 feet. And luckily, it was just the right side of my canopy, not the whole thing. So I was able to get several breaks, but I definitely had to recover from that one. And then I had an additional incidents afterwards because of the accident 2 months later. So, yeah.
So you said you had like a partial collapse, basically one side of your canopy. Is that what you said?
Yeah. There was tree line there, and there was rotors off the tree line, and I didn't see them. So it was literally just the right side of my canopy. And so it kind of slingshot me down, so approximately 100 feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what were your injuries?
I had 2 breaks in my left femur, ribs 1, 3, and 5, punctured left lung, and a small break in my C7.
Wow.
Man. I did it good. I'd never broken a bone before that, so I just got it done in all one shot.
You did it right.
I wanted to just
let's go for it. Man.
Yeah. And then I actually got out of the hospital in like 4 or 5 days. I think it was 4 days.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really, really lucky. Like, because they were all clean breaks, and uh, I didn't want to be in the hospital, and so it's like, what do I do to get out of here? And they're like, well, you got to poop and you got to walk up some stairs. And I'm like, cool, stop giving me drugs and then show me how to walk again. And I left.
Like, I can do those two things.
I'm a
That's
little
hilarious.
stubborn, as you'll come to see, so I'll just preface that now.
So obviously I don't know any of the details of exact, I mean, just a little bit you just said, but I mean, just with that little bit, it sounds like there's not maybe a whole lot that you could have done to prevent that. Do you think that there is? Is there something that you could have done differently? Like, what did you learn? Or is there anything that you can tell other people that you think is helpful? Or it's just an accident. Sometimes it just happens.
Yes and yes. It is an accident. It just happens. The only thing, honestly, because I actually have outside video from another Canon videographer who was videoing my landings. And there was nothing I could have done. I was so low to the ground at that point, other than not jump in shitty conditions. You know,
Yeah.
I made a decision. I was hungry. I needed to make some money, and I shouldn't have done it. If those wind conditions were here at home, there's no way I would have jumped. No.
What was your main canopy, Erika?
At that time, I was jumping a Crossfire. I think it was my 119, 109. I don't remember, and I had 10 pounds of lead. So I was barely wing loading it, and it was windy on the North Shore, and I was new. It was literally my first work jump. I didn't know.
So what you guys might not be able to see, but I know Erika in real life, is that she's a tiny human being. And so 10 pounds of lead on a, man, if it was a 109, that might have got you to a 1-to-1, right? But on a 119, probably you maybe 1-to-1, right?
Yeah, and at that time I was going through it, and so I was small. I was tiny.
Yeah. So probably not. So I think, and this is the one thing that comes to mind when I hear about canopy collapses, and Erika, obviously you've been through it, so you feel free to comment. But your choice of canopy shouldn't be dictated by that possibility, of course, but generally speaking, a cross brace canopy will have a little bit better stability in a wider range of conditions because of the way the cross braces stabilize the canopy. But of course, that is entirely dependent on jump numbers and comfort and skill and previous canopy courses and all kinds of things. But I do know at a certain experience level, it is not a bad thing to consider, even if you're doing straight in approaches, if you have the experience to justify it, for exactly that reason. It does hold its shape better in a variety of conditions.
Why are you saying with the, I mean, this is for me, I want to understand, but also for our listeners, if you have the appropriate experience, why do you need more experience or whatever for a cross brace? What are you alluding to?
Well, generally it's a higher performance canopy when it's cross braced. I think that Icarus, I mean, without getting too deep in the weeds, Icarus split years ago. Now there were two different companies. There's Icarus Spain and Icarus New Zealand. I believe Icarus Spain is now Gyro. I hope I'm not screwing that up or offending anybody. But they're two different companies.
Zealand.
Is that New
Gyro
Zealand?
is New Zealand, I think.
Okay, that's probably right. And then they made a canopy. One of the two companies called a Neos, which was I believe is a 9-cell, and the center 3 cells had cross braces. So it was meant to be sort of a transitional canopy between non-cross braced and cross braced, and give people an introduction to a higher performance without sort of going all in. PD makes a Katana, which is, I believe, what they intend to be a transitional canopy from maybe a Saber 2 up to a Velocity or Valkyrie. So different companies are trying to get you accustomed to the performance that you're going to get under a cross brace canopy. But honestly, like it's pretty different. And so, but higher performance for sure. Typically more elliptical. When you make it turn, it turns. And one of the things, if you haven't jumped cross braced already, the cross braces make the wing function as a single unit, which you might think your canopy is acting like a single unit until the first jump you make on a cross brace and you pull the front riser and the whole canopy comes over instead of just your front right or front left. So like Steph, my wife, she jumps a cross brace canopy. It's a Valkyrie, and she does a 90-degree turn to final, and she's not aggressive, but it does come out of the sky very quickly. She's got 19 or 20,000 jumps. She's got the experience to handle something like that. But cross braces will, if you make mistakes, you are in less good shape than if you make a mistake on something that's not cross braced generally.
And are you, sorry, Erika, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I'm just agreeing and watching JRuss's bird. I'm sorry.
Chicken hawk.
Yeah.
JRuss, are you able to explain a little bit like the actual physical, like how does the cross brace work? Like how is it actually put together differently? Can you explain that to us?
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing monumental, honestly. Like if you look up at the ribs of your cells, you know, the ribs divide the however many cells you've got. That's the dividing line to make that number. If you within the individual cell, there will be an X shape of crossed ribs, basically. So that one cell, I believe, becomes 4. No, I can't be getting that right. 9 cell becomes, I think it becomes 3. Is technically 3 because a 9 cell is 27 and a 7 cell is 21 cells. So basically, it's just crossed material in the crossed braces inside the individual cells, and so it just gives a lot of stability to the canopy, which I believe is necessary because of the elliptical design. And we're going to get in the weeds of my knowledge, to be fair, about why you need it to be cross braced, but I think it stabilizes what would otherwise be a relatively unstable platform because it's so elliptical.
So it's adding rigidity to the entire thing, right?
So like I did my canopy progression generally was a couple of different Spectre sizes, and then I did about 20 jumps on a stiletto, and then I jumped up to a katana, which was, but my buddy hit the ground when I was pretty young, and I went super slow. So the katana started at about 3,000 jumps, and I did that canopy for 2,000 or 3,000 more jumps. And then the first jump on a velocity, which was kind of the big cross brace canopy at that time, I pulled the front riser and I could not believe the response. Like the whole canopy dove over, and it was so different than the katana, where if you pulled the front riser, like the canopy dove, but just kind of deflected the front corner, and it's a very different experience.
Yeah,
the bird will come back.
Okay, we don't have to get into it, but I am also interested. Do you have any experience, JRuss, with or Erika, you too, with Brian Germain's the airlock? Have you ever flown or had any experience with those?
Yeah. So the idea is epic, and
it's so cool. Like I've watched a couple of his videos. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I think the downfall, and this is such a hard thing to say about human beings, but I think it's true, is that when you land, you're trying to get the air out of a freaking tandem canopy. It's locked in there. And so you're out there like a student who can't figure out how to deflate his canopy on every single jump. And it's super annoying. And which is a hell of a thing to say when it potentially saves your life. Like if Erika was on an airlock, it's very likely she wouldn't have had that accident. But she'd have been so freaking annoyed on every jump that she's filming tandems, and it's all this it's all this material, and it's like what did I jump? I think I jumped a Samurai for a while.
It's like you're trying to deflate an air mattress or something.
Yeah, and you've got no thumbs to use, or make it as hard as you possibly can.
Blindfolded one arm.
I will say the couple of videos that I've watched of Brian Germain messing around with it, he almost has some kind of trick where he's figured out how to deflate them, because he doesn't seem to have that issue, but I don't know what he's doing.
You should tell everybody.
Yeah, put it in the manual.
Yeah. All right, so, Erika, we briefly talked about, it wasn't on air, was it, about talking about your medal?
No.
You got one medal in the background. Tell us.
I got my one medal in the background. A couple years ago, I had the honor of having a wonderful VFS team called the Hustlers. And for my first team, I was super honored and blessed because we had so much fun, dude, and we trained our asses off and had fun the whole time, even through adversities. And I learned a lot. I became a much stronger flyer. I love doing 10 jumps in a day. I didn't think I could do that before that. I thought that people who were doing it were crazy. So I felt really good to have a team that supported that dream. And we got to do advance at nationals and did have adversity at nationals. We had a team member that couldn't make it, and so at the last minute we had to fill in, and it was kind of fumbly bumbly halfway through it. We changed some things and ended up at the last minute tying for silver, and then won by 1 point on that tiebreaker jump. So it was exhilarating, and so that's where she lives.
Yeah. How exciting.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool to do that with a last minute teammate change. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. Just a couple of suit changes and just smile and have fun and just go do it. And we did. And it was an honor too because the pilot on that jump was a friend of mine and I hadn't seen him in a while. And so all of a sudden I get a tap on the shoulder and I turn around and it's my friend flying, giving me a quick high five as he's, flying jump run. But it was really magical for me because it slowed everything down and really gave me the chance to enjoy that moment. So, yeah.
Awesome. And I want to bring up, I don't know if it was you personally, Erika, or if you just took some advice that I handed out a few years ago. There was the women's record, the 100 way that was supposed to happen. Just so everybody knows, that's CH leaving a little gift for me.
Nice. JRuss got pooped on.
That's good luck in some countries.
Yeah, a whole pack of these sitting next to me at all times. The women's Project 19 was supposed to happen in 2019, right? Or 2020? What was the original year? 20?
It was
and
20.
The 100-year anniversary, right?
Correct. Yeah, Project 19 for the Women's Skydiving Network as well.
Yeah. And that was to celebrate the ratifying of the 19th Amendment, which allowed women to vote, which was insanely just 100 years ago. But it didn't happen because of COVID. And there were a few people. Steph was one of the organizers and I was running the bench, and a few people who asked, hey, what can we do in the meantime to get better? If we're on the bench, like, we'd like to be on the record. What can we do? And I said, VFS. As much as you can. VFS. Go do VFS. And Erika is one of the few people that I think I can say 100% you did it. You went and flew VFS for the next year or so, year and a half. And so not only did you get a medal, but you also were on the record.
I got to participate on the Project 19 team. It was, again, amazing. That was a good year, man. Yeah. It was such an honor. Like, some of these women from all over the world get together to do 100 jump. We did an unofficial 97 way that I got Dawn to be on at the last minute. And Anna Monks looks at me and she's like, you want to go skydive with me? And I said, of course. And I got to be on that jump. But just being a part of seeing some of my role models. I started jumping in 2006. The first woman that I remember speaking to was Amy Shemelecki. And here I am being briefed by Shemi now, and she's a great friend of mine. So it was, I get excited just thinking about those times because it was, by far some of my highlights of my skydiving career.
For sure.
Awesome. That's cool. That's really cool.
And okay, so you pack parachutes. We were at work together today. And what else do you do? Do you still jump? Do you still do VFS? What else is going on in your world?
I still do body work. I do Reiki as well on the side. I did massage for several years. After COVID, I kind of let that lapse, but I helped some buddies out here and there. But for sure, I focus mainly on psychedelic integration coaching, supporting people, educating people, harm reduction. Ever since my accident, it was kind of the catalyst of my own personal healing journey. And that kind of started leading me to to becoming an integration coach, just in my own story. Overcoming things that we all find solace in skydiving, and that's why we're here. So it's just bringing it back to that present moment for sure.
Can you give more detail about what psychedelic integration is?
Sure can. Primarily because it's a very, very trendy word right now, and nobody knows what the heck it actually means when you talk to other people who've heard of it. But essentially, all it is preparing for a psychedelic journey with intention, and then the aftercare and support afterwards. So a lot of people you'll hear on media, people coming to whether it's psilocybin or MDMA or other sacred medicines around the world, they need support afterwards to really make those healing changes and to know that there's other people that know what they've gone through as well. Hold that space and let them do the healing that they need, because it's different for everybody. So it's just really a holding space.
Okay. And am I correct that your parachutes on your t-shirt are the Amanita muscaria mushroom?
That is correct. That's why I wore it. So everybody can really see it.
Can you tell us about those?
I'd love to. That's why I wore it. My good friend Chad and his wife Carrie, they started a company called Mental Joe Apparel, and that's who this are. He's an airborne guy, and he was a ranger, and he was going through a difficult time in his life, and he was on the verge of taking his life, and when he tried, it failed. And he found ketamine. And ketamine treatment was the beginning of his healing of veteran PTSD, severe anxiety, suicidal ideation. He was having a hard time in his marriage. All these things were snowballing and led him to having to ask for help after it failed. And him and his wife started this company. And this is my favorite shirt of theirs that they have a whole plethora of. And the money goes to raising awareness or helping veterans find healing modalities as well. That's one of the people that I like to support. They do have a 501. We also coincide and network with Music with a Purpose, who's also a 501c, who are trying to raise money to send veterans to get help as well. So the integration support kind of add to it.
Where do they send them?
It depends on the person, because we do have a tribe called the Seri-Comcac tribe in Sonora, Mexico. They're their own sovereign nation, and they are essentially the guardians of one medicine, so we send some people out to them. We do have other very vetted, trusted organizations abroad that support people if we need. It really depends on what the individual needs and what calls to them. That's part of the preparation in these journeys is finding the medicine that's going to be good for you and safe for you, health-wise as well. And
so sorry, Chris, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yeah. So is it only for like trauma and like emotional, mental healing, or is there some things that can actually help with physical healing? Does that question make sense?
It does. That's going down to your intention. So something that I tell my clients when they are looking to do these journeys is to find the intention of why this medicine is calling you. So if they do have a physical ailment, there are certain medicines that would probably, based on your beliefs, I don't want to get too woo-woo on you, but you can go woo-woo or you can go very medical. So It's like, depends on the person. Do you want to go to a ketamine clinic and sit with somebody and have a proper person hold that space for you before and after, and not just go to some in and out? Or do you want to go to Peru and sit with some real shamans and do some real work like that? Like, I can help you in that direction as well. So it varies. Some people want to.
What your intentions are and your goals, what you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because some medicines, research is finally showing what many of the ancestors have known for years of what these medicines can do on physical levels, whether they're healing cancers or other things. Like it's all there in the books. But now we finally have the research being done to show Western medicine like this is possible.
Are there, is there some research, things that you could point our listeners to that if they're interested to actually look at the research and learn about that you think have been really helpful, that's good research that you can point us to, or websites?
Anything from Johns Hopkins Hospital, they do a plethora of research right now. There's MAPS. It's called Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. MAPS is a really, really well-known organization that has a lot of information on research, particularly the MDMA and the ketamine treatment, but they've been pushing for legalization and other stuff as well. For like Decriminalized Nature's an organization that has some information as well. If you're somebody that just had an experience or wants to have some support or knows someone that needs help, there's a beautiful organization called firesideproject.org that you can call in or text and say, hey, this person's having a hard time, or I had a hard time, or I just need to talk to somebody. That support line does exist. And so and they're many amazing people. We're all trained and
okay. That's very good. Very interesting.
So I put a couple links in the chat. MAPS is the one that I was aware of as well, which is maps.org. And then firesideproject.org. I just typed into the chat if anybody looks later. This is, so I'm going to jump in because I actually know a little bit about this story. It's been something I've been reading about for years. I'm actually in a book right now, that is chronicling the discovery of Albert Hofmann. If you guys recognize that name, Albert Hofmann was a German chemist who was working with a fungus that grows on wheat and rye called ergot. And he was working for a medical lab called, I think, Saduz, SADUZ in Germany. And they were working on finding medical applications in plant-based, sorry, she poops on me about every 30 seconds, so I got to clean up poop. Basically plant-based medicines. And so they were just trying to derive whatever they could from different plants. And he got assigned ergot, which fungus are not actually a plant, but, kind of in that vein. And he synthesized LSD. They found, when they tested it on animals, almost no response in mice, and so they kind of put it on the shelf for 5 years. And normally something that is synthesized and has, in their opinion, no more usefulness, it just doesn't come back. But for whatever reason, he decided that it had merit, and he synthesized another batch and spilled some on his finger, and he tripped. And he had to leave the lab and went home, and then realized that the next day, as probably most psychedelic users who have ever had a journey will resonate with them, that the next day was amazing. The food, the colors, the conversation, his mental acuity. He was not hungover in the sense of like having an alcohol experience. He was switched on in a way that he had never felt before. And he chronicled all of this to his superiors, to the other people in the lab. Then he did a self-experiment where he gave himself a pretty heroic dose, not knowing what an actual dose was. And normally those doses are in the small numbers of micrograms, and he gave himself a part of a gram. I think a quarter of a gram, which is a really, really big dose. And he went off the rails a little bit, and, had some sort of classic, honey, it's okay. Steph got home. She's nervous about interrupting our podcast. And he had to go home, and his wife came home early from their vacation, and kind of a scene, but then he didn't die, and he felt very good the next day and was able to introspect. His other people in the lab, they also tried his LSD.
Steph, look at, she's so cute.
Mia's on
she's
the floor,
so awesome.
so she's got a
Steph.
Yeah,
she's cool.
So anyway, that to them, they immediately saw the benefits in terms of some of the medical reasons why LSD could or should be used, and didn't anticipate it creeping into the counterculture the way that it did. And so when Timothy Leary and the guys at Harvard were studying it and started using LSD and psilocybin mushrooms with their students, which was strictly not allowed, they were fired. 3 guys were fired. The program was shut down. The news media took it kind of to the extreme, and those substances were classified as a class 1, no medical use. And sadly, that has persisted for the last, what is almost 80 years? No, 70 years. 70. Almost 70 years. And it's coming back into sort of mainstream discussion. I think a lot of the driving force is our former military members who are coming back from what they do, and with PTSD and anxiety and a lot of the things that Erika was talking about with her friend that was a Ranger, and the 22 suicides a day that I think might be actually underreported, is something that is trying to be addressed through some of these substances, MDMA, LSD, mushrooms, psilocybin, another psychedelic from Africa called ibogaine, which is a really interesting one. If you haven't heard about that, it's at low doses, I think it can be okay. And I've never tried it. I've only read about it. But at higher doses, you're in for a heck of a time. 22 hours of a really difficult experience of looking at the dark corners of your mind. But they call that the heroin dose because when you come out, whatever you were addicted to, you're probably not addicted to anymore. Whether it's alcohol or smoking or...
No, ibogaine's known for being the best for addictions.
Yeah. So people are... sadly, a lot of these things have not been available in the United States. So a lot of these clinics are currently in Mexico, as Erika mentioned, so that people can try to get their mental sanity back by going to other countries, which is, in my opinion, a little bit unfortunate. But hopefully that is on the mend.
It is actually. There's people that are working on it. Yeah. There's Joe Topher, who started a church, the Eagle and the Condor, and sought rights for that. There's Jennifer Murphy, is a woman who I've never met personally, but I know a lot of people that have, who is filed a suit against the DEA for our rights to use these medicines for treatment and for ourselves, recreationally, or for healing properties, therapy as well. So there are people doing it. It's just really hard to get that movement legally on a federal scale. There's some groups like Decriminalize Nature and Normalize Psychedelics that are trying to do it on a smaller level, from the inside out. But for the most part, yeah.
And I think it's important, even as we're talking about this, to say that I think there's pretty universal agreement among people who are interested in having those substances available, that it's done in an appropriate way, that the terms that you're probably going to hear a lot are set and setting, that you have a guide, that you're mentally and physically prepared for the experience. And I don't want to talk over you, Erika. You might be better off talking about all this stuff, but just so if people are listening, they're sort of tuning in the right way.
Yeah, I love that you know that, because unfortunately there's a lot of people that don't, especially young kids. I mean, I started doing psychedelics when I was insanely too young, And I look at kids that age, and there's no way, there's no education. You know, we were told not to do it, so of course we went and did it. But if we would have told that you might have, you know, a spiritual awakening, you might have thought a little bit further before doing it. But that's different for everybody as well, you know.
So I think I can guess what setting is, but what is set?
So set and setting, you have set, which is your mindset. It's not necessarily like, if I'm having suicide ideation, I probably don't want to eat a bunch of mushrooms by myself in a room. That's not necessarily the mindset that I want to be in.
Gotcha.
But if I have the proper set, like JRuss said, a guide, support, preparation for afterwards, that's where might come in. The integration is, what are you coming home to? What changes are you wanting to do? What kind of things are you wanting to address? And how can I hold you and support you? Because it's going to be different for everybody, but it's being safe enough to get to that point.
Gotcha. So trying to be as responsible as possible with the whole process, from before you preparation, getting ready, during the I don't know, the trip or whatever, and then after also. Okay, that's cool. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Like really looking at the whole process. Interesting.
Yeah. And you're building a relationship with this medicine at this point, in my personal opinion, when I go to talk to people. You know, it's not just going to take this medicine. It's like, how do I say thank you? How do I make this a part of me so that I can continue carrying this into my life afterwards?
Okay. Interesting. Have you seen any kind of specific or unique uses within the skydiving community, or is it a very similar, the way that skydivers might use it would be pretty much similar to other, you know, is that a valid question? Do you understand? I mean, is there anything unique to the skydiving community and these types of drugs or whatever they're called?
These medicines.
Okay.
For what I can see is,
To like me, only in the sense
if let's say that you had some pretty significant trauma from your accident, would one of these treatments or one of these experiences be helpful in dealing with that and getting back into the airplane and skydiving again?
With the anxiety, yeah, absolutely.
It could.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's what microdosing psilocybin is known for, is to regular helping with anxiety. So different medicines have that intention. If you want to, like, it helped me know how to, the integration part that was included was also learning how to regulate my nervous system, and that whole bit was included in that route, in that journey.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. As an aside, because she mentioned microdosing psilocybin, for maybe the last decade, a big chunk of Silicon Valley has been microdosing LSD. And that has contributed to just the overall explosion of creativity that has happened there. And I know a bunch of people who work in that industry, and their superiors super happy with their performance, their creativity, their work hours, just everything about it. You're performing better, which is a really interesting thing to think about, especially when I was a kid and hearing about those things and the way that they were described, as far as like, if you do LSD more than once, you're gonna go insane, and just the demonizing of those substances, probably through lack of understanding. But yeah, I think that just nice to see him coming back into the mainstream.
So what is it like, a microdose? So is a psilocybin, that's not the same as LSD though, right?
No. LSD's chemical, psilocybin is a fungus mushroom.
Okay. So if I have zero experience with either one of those. So if I took a microdose, what would, like what is that experience like? Can you describe it?
Well, for regular users, 1 to 3 grams is, or 1 gram, 1 to 2 grams is a small amount. A microdose, you're taking like 0.1 of 1 gram, so 100 milligrams on average. And sometimes people start a little lower and a little bit higher, depends. But if you can actually a lot of people say sub-perceptual. I don't personally like that word, only because I know when I microdose and when I don't microdose. But it's not affecting my day-to-day. I can still do my job. I can brush my teeth. I can do my job. I can go anywhere. I can do all these things. I can clean my house. You know,
you could carry on a deep conversation.
For sure.
Deeper.
I feel like I'm more connected with the ground that I'm walking on, if that makes sense.
Okay. Interesting.
You asked about skydiving, and something that I did actually notice when I was starting my integration support job. I did a little research, and of course all my friends are skydivers, so I asked all my skydiving friends. And across the board, what caused them to these medicines and to these treatments was peace.
They were looking for peace?
They were looking for peace in some way, shape, or form.
Huh.
Whether internal peace, whether environment, whether they want focus. There's something that they wanted to bring down. And that's where the money is. Because now you have attention.
And these things helped them find that peace.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
You start to recognize that. And now you have the ability to recognize that outside of that, you're become self-aware.
Okay.
That's my goal.
So is it, could a person microdose and jump?
Never going to suggest that.
Because I really don't have any experience, so I'm just asking sincere questions because I don't know.
Yeah, it's not something I would suggest either, even though.
Okay, why? Because when I hear you say like you're more grounded, you're more present, you're more aware, you're like deeper conversations, it seems like, oh, well, so I'm not trying to argue. I'm just trying to understand. So why would you say those things, but then at the same time, I wouldn't suggest that you skydive? Can you drive?
For me, it's ethics.
Okay.
It's that you want to be safe. You want to. I don't want to put anybody in danger.
Yeah.
And
do you think it would be safe to drive when you microdose?
So about 10 years ago, I got offered a microdose at the end of the jumping day, right after we came back from overseas. And I was like, man, I don't know. And the person that was talking to me was like, don't be scared. It's going to be fine. And I said, okay. I was having a beer. I was still drinking alcohol at the time. And he just put a little drop in my beer. And I was coaching the Russian VFS team. We were in DeLand. And the rest of the day was exactly what he said. I was totally switched on. My mind felt so clear.
Wow.
We went to dinner with the Russian guys. DeLand had a restaurant kind of on the water. And I speak Russian. I was able to speak with them more clearly than I had been before. I had a conversation about subculture films with the guy on the team who speaks the most English for hours. The colors were crazy amazing. And I absolutely feel like I could have driven, although I didn't. And I don't feel that I was impaired at all. I felt like I was functioning at a much better level. Kind of maybe a level that we should aspire to. But at the same time, I don't know what dose I took. He put a drop into my beer. And although I felt fine, a lot of people feel fine when they're drunk. And so that was my one experience doing that. And based on that, I'm not going to say I think it's okay to skydive because I'm not sure at all. And
that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So I had a great experience, but telling somebody else, go ahead and jump, that's a different thing.
Okay. That makes sense.
Especially when it comes to like fungus or some different medicines, like everybody's metabolized is different what might affect me a little bit more is not going to affect JRuss a little bit more, which is going to be different from somebody else. So there's a lot of other factors and trial and error in finding that dosage that's good for you. You're not just going to guess every day, and you're going to measure these things out. You're going to have a structured protocol, how many days a week you're going to take it, things like that. Like that's what you talk to your integration coach or therapist. Like my therapist is trained in psychedelic studies through MAPS, and I can have these conversations with her, and that's available to us. A lot of people don't know that.
There's actually apps that are available that you can use to track your microdosing and help you with microdosing plans. There's a guy named Paul Stamets who he's kind of the mushroom guy. I don't know how to say, but like when Erika mentioned studies at Johns Hopkins, Harvard, Stanford, like there's some major universities that are looking into this, and medical facilities. He's the guy supplying them with mushrooms. And interestingly, there is I think it's a cordyceps mushroom that evolved alongside of carpenter ants. And the cordyceps mushroom will kill the carpenter ants. And if you've never dealt with carpenter ants, they're tough. But because they evolved coincidentally, the ants know to stay away from the cordyceps mushroom. He modified the mushroom so that they couldn't recognize it. And so and he patented that, and he got rich. And he built a lab in the Pacific Northwest, which is where he's from. And he cultivates and grows some of the best mushrooms in the world for psychedelic purposes and supplies them to universities for study and medical facilities. And where did I go with Paul Stamets? Why did I say Paul Stamets? I'm not really sure. I lost the original thought.
You need a microdose so you can think clearer.
Oh, sorry. He has an app. He put out an app that tracks your microdosing, and the app will suggest other things to go in with your microdose, niacin or lion's mane or some of the other things that are helpful to make your body run right. But yeah,
and what's his name
for it? Paul Stamets.
Yeah,
Paul Stamets.
Yeah, they discovered another mushroom, a different fungus, and they actually just named it after him.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
And just because, Erika, where are you from? Are you Hispanic?
I was born in Southern California. Yeah, Hispanic. My mom was born in Mexico.
Origin. Yeah. Okay. The first, I believe, the first time magic mushrooms made it, and that's not the right way to call them, but everybody knows that word. Made it into the mainstream was a tiny village in Mexico that a U.S. traveler went to, and a woman who was kind of a shaman there, allowed him to have a journey, and he was so changed that he took them back to the U.S. and it ended up being kind of a bummer situation because a lot of U.S. people went there, and the other village people kind of ostracized the woman because they felt like she had given up their sacred secret, basically. But it brought that fungus to the sort of the knowledge of Westerners.
Yeah, she was definitely ostracized and within the community because of that. Yeah. But her ideal, her frame of mind was that healing is for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where she was coming from. So she didn't care that she was doing it solo. She's very revered in the psychedelic community.
And there's I'm in Arizona right now. There's a friend of mine that used to be on a VFS team that I worked with, who's running a clinic. He's helping as his nonprofit with another vet to help vets to get help in Mexico. And I'm hoping to have him at some point on the cast because they're a startup nonprofit. And Kevin, if you're ever listening to this, I'm going to get you on the show.
Is he a skydiver?
He is a skydiver. He was on a VFS team years ago that I coached. He himself, I hope it's okay to say that he went through some difficulty after his service. the other guy that he works with is a service member as well, and they wanted, I believe that they were both recipients of the 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 help that Erica's talking about, and they wanted to also share that with other vets.
Hmm.
And the word is out. In that community. There's a lot of people who are understanding that whether or not you have to go to Mexico to do it, it's better than some of the alternatives that people are considering. And in fact, once they get there and go through the experience, at least the people that I've talked to have had ayahuasca journeys or ibogaine journeys, their life is different. Their life is better and back to humanity.
Interesting.
It's changed my life.
Wow.
I mean, on a personal note from that, one of the things that I'm a big proponent of is the healing benefits of ayahuasca. You mentioned that you don't drink anymore, and I attest that that helped me a lot with that. I was a very heavy drinker for most of my life. And I've been sober now for 7.5 years. I went to Peru for 3 weeks. I did 2 weeks in the jungle out there, to 3 different retreat centers. And then I went to another one in Machu Picchu, and I haven't looked back. And that was definitely.
Can you, like, when you say that it helped you, like with drinking, like, well, what do you mean? What did it, like, you just, well, yeah, what do you mean?
It's funny because it wasn't something that, like, I had done ayahuasca. The first time I did ayahuasca was in 2015. And I knew that it was going to help me, but I didn't know other people that did it. Very few people. Back then, nobody really knew what it was yet. It was still kind of coming out. And there was no integration. I didn't have community. I didn't know what I was doing. But I knew that drinking was a problem because of my life. It was evident. But I didn't know how to quit. When I went to Peru, it was 2 years after, it was in 2017. That's when I found community. That's when I did integration and learned about how to prepare and what to do when I came home. That's when I felt safe with the people that I was with, because I was in the jungle with people who made the medicines, and that's what resonated with me. And I allowed myself to go as deep as I needed to go in order to heal those traumatic events that happened to me that was the precursor, the root cause of me using for so long. So that's how I knew, because when I remember the specific journey, actually, matter of fact, where what's called purging, you vomit during the ceremony. It sucks for a lot of people, but once you're in it, you see the power in it. I know that moment when it happened. There was no doubt. There was no gas. And I had people supporting me.
Yeah. I think one of the difficulties is really it's just beyond description. And that's really challenging for people to hear. I think I cannot describe that experience. No, I have not done ayahuasca. I'm just saying that all of the reading that I've done, the experiences are intangible. Like, but a few difficult stories aside, the vast majority of people who approach it in the right way, the set and setting that is super, super important, are having beneficial effects. And I mean, depressed people are not depressed anymore. People who are having intractable suicidal depression are going, the only downside of going to Johns Hopkins and having that therapy, that heavy dose. And when Erika said 1 to 2 grams, they're taking 6 grams, 7 grams at Johns Hopkins. Like, these are heavy doses of psilocybin, and they're not depressed. And the only downside is a year later or 2 years later, when they haven't taken any of those antidepressants for years, they start feeling those feelings again. They're not allowed to have more. They're not allowed to have another experience because they're illegal. It was only legal because it was part of the study. And now they have to go somewhere else to get that. There's no other word for it than medicine. And what's really interesting about the difference in the way we perceive those two things, as for, like antidepressants. What's an antidepressant that we know?
Xanax.
Xanax is a benzodiazepam, and that is a class of drug that when you put it in your body, there are two drugs that we know of. They're both legal and both readily available, and you may not stop doing them cold turkey or you die. And benzos are one of them. And if you drink enough alcohol, that's the other one.
Yeah. Both legal.
Both legal, both readily available. Both will be prescribed to, I mean, alcohol you can get at any corner store, but a benzo will be prescribed to you. You just tell
pretty
the doctor,
easy to get a doctor to prescribe it to you. I mean, it doesn't take much to convince them.
But if you go have one heavy dose trip, experience, journey, whatever the word is that you want to use, you have no desire to do it again. And not because it was unpleasant, but because it simply doesn't call to you again. And what's wait,
because that was a question I wanted to ask. Say that again. Make sure I understand. What now?
It isn't. How do I can't compare it to something that I've never done cocaine, but everybody that I know who has done cocaine says when you do it, you just would like to do some more. Yeah. And some more and some more.
Okay.
Psychedelics are not like that. Once you take it in and the journey starts, I'm good. I don't need any more. This is plenty. I'm telling you.
Is that 100%. Do you think that's for most people? Everybody? A small percentage? What?
There are people that are doing it in that way. I mean, majority of the idea isn't to be on them forever. It's to have this experience and to not have to continue to do them, right? And when you say you didn't know words, it's ineffable, but the results aren't like I'm seeking the medicine. Like he said, it's calling to him. So the medicine's calling to me. But once you have that journey and I feel fulfilled, I won't feel called to have it again because now I have a different outlook on life. My perspective on life is a little bit different. I don't feel like I have this calling to do work.
Interesting.
And not only that, but it could be years before it calls to you again. And I people
that do it once and they never do it again, and once sometimes they do it every 3 weeks. It depends on what the person is going through.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, Erika, I have a couple questions for you. Well, one question, but it's not related to what we've been. This is so interesting, though. So I kind of don't want to change subjects, but I also feel like we've got you here. I want to ask you a question. Like, I don't think we've had a guest on the show that was a full-time. I mean, that was a parachute packer. Have we, JRuss? Like somebody who really does that a lot.
I don't think so.
So, Erika, I really do want to hear from you as that role, as you fulfill that role in the skydiving community. What are some things that you have learned about skydiving or about the skydiving community that you think would be really helpful for just regular old Joe and Janet skydiver to know? Like, what can packers around the world teach us that we need to hear from you guys that we just don't know?
Check your gear. Check your gear, baby, please. Know your gear. Know what's inside your gear. I am still amazed when I ask somebody what their reserve is and they don't know what they are jumping.
Chris, do you know?
Yeah, I know. I have an Optimum 143, baby.
There you go.
What's one of the most common gear issues that you see?
Other than closing loops.
Is that the most common, you think?
For sure, only because I'm changing them, I'm working them. But it's on if I get new gear. When I used to work at the gear store, like you would see a lot of closing loops that you have to change often. Cutaway cables, our repack cycles are longer. So remembering to check your cutaway cables in between those cycles.
And what are you seeing when you say cutaway cables? What's wrong with them? What are you seeing?
They get really dirty. So because they're not getting repacked as often as they used to, people aren't pulling them out, cleaning them, re-siliconing them so that they have a clean extraction. So if there's enough dirt accumulated over time, especially if you're a newer jumper and you tumble and fumble a lot, you want to like get that dirt out of the housing. That might potentially save your life.
Okay. What else do you see on a regular basis?
Loose kids that are jumping without free fly hoods, and they're doing free flying. I've seen that a lot, especially organizing. I do organize on occasion at Skydiving Arizona, and that's one of the things I'm checking everybody's gear as I'm getting on the plane, as we're going around.
Do you think the hacky is safe enough for free flying, like specifically head up? To me, it seems like I see the hacky and that thing is bouncing around. I'm like, man, I don't know about that. It seems kind of scary.
I probably have 10,000 jumps on a hacky free flying.
And there's no issue.
No.
Really? Okay.
I mean, maybe not 10, maybe 8, but a lot.
Well, I'm not going to argue between 8,000 and 10,000.
A lot.
If your BOC is awesome, cool. If you have a loose BOC, you might want to look into fixing that.
Because she said that in 2015, I think. I won't call him out by name, but one of the camera flyers was at the world record, the head down world record attempts. And as was his custom, he came up through the center of the base at pull time.
Yeah.
His BOC was loose. And he was about 6 inches from one of the guys in the base and his canopy deployed. But luckily, the base is round. He was in the middle of it. And there's nobody above. Everybody's off to the side, and nobody died. But the video was insane.
I remember that video.
Yeah. So a good, solid, strong, fresh BOC is nice.
Yeah, I just had mine replaced about 2 months ago.
Yay!
Yeah, awesome.
My rigger at my home, DZ, he's awesome. I think a lot of riggers are like this, but he's one of those, he jokes around and he laughs and cuts up. But when it comes to your gear, he is not afraid to just tell you how it is. Like,
it's perfect.
It's so awesome.
We're still buddies, but I'm going to tell you when your gear sucks.
Oh man, he does not hold back.
So it's like it, huh? All right.
Yeah, that's good.
So we're on about an hour. This is a normal time for our podcast, Erika. But before we do close out, we don't have to close out yet. But before we do, tell everybody if they wanted to reach you in the area, how could they get a hold of you? How do you reach people, and kind of also maybe talk just a little bit about the introduction to not packing, but the other part of what you do for people.
Yes. You can email me. I check my emails, or you can find me on Instagram, LA_little_LIL_ninja.
Okay, let me try that again. Say that again. Putting in the chat.
Let me see if I can say it. LA_LIL_ninja. La Lil Ninja.
Yeah.
That's it. Ninja is the end of it.
Yeah.
It's not like .com or anything. I don't use Instagram.
Well, no, that was her Instagram handle.
That's my Instagram.
Lil Ninja. Okay.
Yeah, you can find it.
Sorry. Is there anything after Ninja, or that's it?
That's it.
Okay. Enter.
Yeah.
Would you feel comfortable sharing your email address with everybody?
Sure. It's Erika Lopez, ERIKA Lopez, LOPEZ, freefly @gmail.com.
Erika Lopez freefly @gmail.com. But that's Erika with a K, not a C.
Yep.
Erika Lopez freefly @gmail.com. So what would they be contacting you specifically for? What types of things would they connect with you about?
Good question.
How could you help them?
I can help them answer any questions. So people have questions about any of these treatments or modalities available to them in the States or out of the States. If they've had journeys and they want to talk about that, all my consultations are always free. but primarily it's just I'm an integration specialist, so we're gonna do preparation, set and setting, all that good stuff, and then the real work starts after the journey. So you can have this transcendental, incredible, inspiring, transformational experience, and now you got to go home, and that's where the real work starts.
Gotcha.
You know, how are you going to change your environment? This is a list of things that you can do to help bring you back to Earth, essentially, after such a strong, intense journey. And
kind
if
of
you
to allow that change to actually make a difference in your day-to-day life.
Right. So we'll start going into actual specific coaching as far as like habits you want to change, whatever's speaking to you. That's what we're working on. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor. I'm trauma informed, but I'm not trauma trained, right? So it's working within those boundaries of what can I do to support you best, answer questions on the medicines, direct you to somebody that can help you. I have a huge network. I'm so blessed by that. Like if I can't be that person, I know where to direct you in a safe way, or at least tell you how to find somebody safely.
Yeah. Very cool.
Rather than just,
very cool.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
I had an experience that I just want to share quickly because it really relates to what Erika's talking about, where a couple summers ago, a guy at Skydiving Chicago approached me. He's former military. He didn't approach me. He just heard me talking about a book that I was reading at the time. And I sat down next to him somebody said, "Hey, he wants to talk to you." I thought it was about a canopy that he wanted to buy. So I went and found him and we sat down, and guys, he was on the edge. Like he was right at the point of killing himself. And, just was like, I heard you talking. I heard the book it was a behavior book that I read about sort of the backgrounds that everybody has and how you just can't look at somebody without knowing the completion of their story or the entirety of their story and make assessments about their life. It's just, you just can't and I just was explaining that book to another friend of mine. And just on the basis of hearing me say that, he opened up about the fact that he was in serious trouble. And I was scrambling. I'm like, fuck. All right, let me try and find a few things. I said, I know that there's clinics down south that can help you. I don't really know anybody who, I don't really know where to go, but give me a couple hours. And I just started looking stuff up, and I did find a couple people that I at least could provide some answers, like a direction to go. And he ended up on a 2 or 3 week ayahuasca journey in Peru, and his life is different. And he's got kids and a wife, and but in that moment, I had no idea really what to tell him other than don't fucking do it, I mean, this big, strong military guy, he just broke down crying in the middle of the hangar. And I was totally taken aback. Like I didn't know that's where this day was headed. So, for people that are out there, this is one potential lifeline for, you don't know who to turn to. You don't know where to get information. And, it's not that Eric or CH can solve all your problems, but at least like there's some hope. There's a glimmer of hope of like, okay, I can talk to somebody, I can get some more information, and I can get perhaps the help that I need.
Well, and I
yeah.
Well, it just sounds really, really, just neat. I know that's seems like a silly word, but it sounds really, really neat that Erika, you, and I'm assuming there's lots of other people like you that want to care for people that are using these medicines to get better. They're seeking healing. They're trying to improve their life. They're trying to get to a better place mentally and emotionally. And it's not just, hey, take this drug and get out of here, but let us walk with you. Like, let's have some kind of relationship with one another and support and care for one another. That I think that's even that right there is just meaningful. Even just set aside the medicines for a minute, just people caring for one another, loving on one another, showing genuine concern about each other's well-being. That's wonderful. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
So before we go, you guys, I just want to give a shout out to, I'm pretty sure there's one person in the audience, which never happens, but I got a new buddy in skydiving. His name's Cole, and he and I were chatting about how he can get, basically he's stoked on skydiving and he wants to buy some gear, and he was hitting me up for buying some gear. And I think I was like, oh, I got to go do this podcast. And he's like, wait, you're in a podcast or you're doing a podcast? And I said, no, I'm doing it. You should. And he asked for the website. That's what.
Yeah, he just texted in the chat. He just did a little Cole. What's up, man? We see you, brother.
Shout out to Cole.
Thank you, Cole.
Hey.
Getting stoked on skydiving.
Very awesome.
I love it.
Hey, okay, real quick. I got to say something to JRuss before we go. The video that you sent me that link to about the plane, plane wreck in Hawaii. Yeah. I watched that video. Yeah. And I kind of think everybody needs to watch it, man. Yeah. It's not because, I mean, obviously most skydivers, most of us are not pilots. So I don't think you need to watch it from the pilot standpoint, but just as a skydiver, and you just need to watch it. It's really frustrating. It's going to bother you and upset you, but you need to watch it. Let
me see.
Do you remember that guy's name, JRuss?
Well, my buddy Jack that was on the show with us, he's the one that sent it to me. So
I can find that link that you sent me again real quick. And
yeah, let me real quickly.
But basically, if you're listening, it was the King Air that crashed back in was it 2019? JRuss, do you remember?
I believe it was 2019. Yeah.
And I think there was 10 people on there. Yes. And everybody perished. And yeah, it's just. It's not fun to watch in the sense of it's just frustrating because of all the stuff that happened, but you need to watch it.
So I emailed it to the link to myself. So I'm going to cut and paste this into the chat. Yeah, what a bummer. Like, just really, really unnecessary for those people to have died. Let's see, live. The platform has changed a little bit here, so
just text it to me, JRuss, and I'll put it in the description on YouTube, so people can just look in the link in the description on YouTube and click a link.
Okay, I did manage to put it in the studio chat, which sounds like it's to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, people won't be able to see that if they're listening on Spotify or YouTube or whatever. They won't see this, but I can put it in the description.
Okay. I'll send it to you right now. So I don't.
And then on a positive note, Crave, we've been in the process of developing an app for Crave for the past couple months, and it's pretty much done. I was just going through a couple final little beta tests and stuff, but so that should be available for everybody pretty soon. So there you go.
Awesome.
Well, Erika, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all that great information, and hopefully, man, if it helps one person, I'll be stoked. And hopefully it'll help more than one. But that's awesome that there are people like you out there doing that.
Awesome. I really appreciate you guys having me on the show. Thank you for seeing me and hearing us, and hope to catch you guys and talk some more on the road.
Yeah, it was great to meet you, Erika. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, guys.
And for everybody that's listening, the one guy right now, and then everybody else that's going to listen later, thanks for tuning in. And next week, Chris will have the awkwardness of announcing the show. So we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Thanks,
see you
everybody.
guys. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.